Hello, my dear students. I am Poonam Gupta, your commerce teacher, is going to explain you chapter 2, that is capital fixed and working of ISC commerce. As you know that no one can start business without capital, or in other words you can say finance. So, in other words, you can say that this is the lifeline of business. It plays very important role in the business. So, what is business finance? So, here is the definition of business finance. It is concerned with arrangement and utilization of funds to meet the finance requirements of a business for long term as well as short term. Now, I tell you why it is needed. What is the importance of finance for business? So, first is a firm can meet its liabilities in time, or with finance, a firm can take advantage of business opportunities, or a firm can carry business smoothly, and firm can purchase the necessary fixed assets and current assets, or business finance helps to bridge the gap between production and sales. After this, sources of finance for different types of business. You know that all business are not same. I have divided this into three parts. First is sole proprietorship. So for sole proprietorship, what are the sources? He can bring his own capital. If it is not sufficient, he can take loans from his friends and relatives, or moreover, he can take loans from banks or some financial institutions, or he can purchase goods on credit from suppliers. Because sole proprietorship is a small business, so too much funds are not required here. And second is partnership firm. For partnership firm, partners can bring their own capital in the agreed ratio, or retained profit, or they can take loans from banks, or they can also purchase goods on credit. Joint stock company, this is a large scale business, so they can arrange funds by issuing the shares, or by issuing the debentures, or they can also take long term loans from the banks and other institutions, or they can arrange short term loans also. Now, after this, I tell you financial planning. See, first, you know that finance is needed for all types of business, but without proper planning, it will not give you your goal. So, proper planning is needed. Clear? Without financial planning, it will not work. Finance will not give you anything, whatever you want. Clear? So, what is the meaning of business financial planning? So, this is financial planning is the process of estimating the financial requirements of an organization, choosing the source of funds, and deciding how the funds are to be utilized. Or you can say how it will be managed, from where it will be managed. Clear? And when it will be managed. All these things will be decided in financial planning. Now, I tell you what are the importance of financial planning. First of all, it is a sound financial plan helps a business enterprise to avoid the problems of shortage and surplus of funds. There will be no overcapitalization or undercapitalization. Second is financial planning serves as a guide in developing a sound capital structure or effective use of funds, you can say, and coordinating various functional areas, effective control of funds. It serves as guide on developing balanced capital structure, and if there is any emergency contingencies or shocks, so that time also financial planning helps. Now, after this, I tell you factors for formulating the financial planning. So when you are formulating the financial planning, what are the main factors we should be considered? First of all, objective. What does it mean objective? The main objective is that we should arrange the funds at the lowest cost. Clear that this is the main objective. Second is nature of industry. Nature of industry means if the industry is capital intensive industry, so that time more finance will be needed, or to spend or for the growth of the business also more finance is needed. Clear? And third is size of the firm. Size of the firm means if the size of the firm is big, so that time more finance will be needed. Capital market condition means financial market condition. So before making this financial planning, also all sources should be compared properly. So which sources are means fruitful, so only the company will go to that source. So financial planning means that capital market condition also should be considered that time. And government regulations means financial policies and regulations of the government affect both availability and cost of funds. For example, if there is a reduction in interest, so what will happen? That there will be more debt capital. They can arrange funds by taking loans at the cheaper rate. Clear? So after this, I tell you factors affecting capital structure. So before this, you should know what does it mean capital structure. That in the beginning of this chapter, I told you that there is two types of capital, either borrowed capital or owned capital. Owned capital is known as equity and borrowed capital is known as debt. Clear? So total capital belongs to these two, capital, equity and debt. So after this, I tell you what kind of factors affecting capital structure means what kind of ratio should be there. First of all, first factor is trading on equity. What does it mean trading on equity? Trading on equity means when borrowed capital is more than equity, or you can say that when a company uses borrowed funds in the regular conduct of business along with equity capital, then it is said to be trading on equity. But it will work only when the rate of earning is higher than the rate of interest and the rate of preference dividend. And you know that what is the benefit of trading on equity? If a company uses this trading on equity, so that time earning per share will be increased. That's why it is beneficial. This is a good sign. Second is exercise of control. If company wants to retain the control in the hand of the company, so that time borrowed capital should be more. Clear? Because you know that if company issues shares, so that time the shareholders will have voting right. So that time the control will go to the shareholders also. So this is also one factor which decides capital structure. Third is need for flexibility. See, a good capital structure should be flexible so that adjustment can be made whenever the need arises. You know that debentures and preference share can be paid off whenever the company feels necessary and they can be issued anytime. So this is the flexibility. But if you issue equity shares, so they cannot be paid off only at the winding up of the company, it will be paid off. So it this is also one factor which affects capital structure. Then nature of business. So see, nature of business means that if company has regular and liberal earnings, so that time high capital gearing means borrowed capital will be more. But if fluctuations are there, so that time borrowed capital will be less and equity will be more. And after this period of finance, if company wants long term loans, long term finance, so that time better to issue shares. But for medium term or short term, they can use preferential or debentures they can issue. Clear? Then, or you can say now, capital structure is equal to debt plus equity. Now I come to the main word, fixed capital. So fixed capital, what does it mean? Fixed or blocked capital refers to the capital invested in fixed assets of a company. Because this is fixed asset, so that's why this is called fixed capital, because when capital is utilized to buy fixed assets, so it will become fixed capital. This capital requirement is permanent for a long period of time. Therefore, it is also known as block capital because money is blocked there. Capital is blocked there. Got it? Then factors affecting fixed capital. What are the factors which affect fixed capital? First is nature of business. Nature of business means if there is a manufacturing business. So you know for manufacturing business, more fixed capital will be needed. But if there is only trading, so that time no machinery, no production is there. So only trading is there. So less fixed capital will be needed. Then second is size of business. Size of business, if large size business is there, so more fixed capital is there because that time growth will be there, expansion of the business will be there. So it means more fixed capital will be needed. If small size business is there, so that time less fixed capital will be needed. Now, third factor is method of production. Method of production means if you are using capital intensive technique, so that time more fixed capital will be needed. Or if you are using labor intensive technique, so that time less fixed capital will be needed. And then diversity of product line. If you are dealing in one product or means less products, so that time if you are using limited products, so that time less capital will be needed, less fixed capital will be needed. And if you are dealing in many products, so that time more fixed capital will be needed. Next, last is mode of acquiring fixed assets. You know that we can purchase the assets by two methods. First is by paying full payment, means this is called cash down basis. So if you are paying full payment the same time, so it means more fixed capital will be needed. And if you are buying any fixed asset on hire purchase by paying some cash down and afterwards you are paying in installment, this is called hire purchase. So that time less fixed capital will be needed. After this, next is working capital. What does it mean, working capital? Working capital means the capital invested in working assets or current assets, such as cash, stock of goods, debtors, and short term investments, etc. This working capital is also known as circulating or revolving capital. Now you can say that gross working capital is total amount of funds invested in current assets, or gross working capital is equal to book value of current assets. Now I tell you net working capital. What is net working capital? That is excess of current assets over current liabilities, or net working capital is equal to current assets minus current liabilities. Then there are different types of working capital. See, I divide first working capital into two parts. First is permanent, another word is temporary. So first of all, you just understand what does it mean. Permanent working capital. See, permanent working capital means that it refers to the minimum amount of working capital required permanently to operate the minimum level of business activity. Clear? And what is temporary? Temporary means for the time being, not permanent, or you can say that it is the working capital that is required in addition to the permanent working capital. We need permanent, but with permanent, we need temporary also. So that's why this is called temporary working capital. Now I divide permanent into two parts, regular and initial. Regular means that part of permanent working capital which is required for the continuous business operations. Clear? And what does it mean? Initial working capital. Initial working capital is the part of permanent working capital which is required at the time of commencement of a business. Because you know, when you start business, that time you are new, no one knows, nobody knows you, so that time no one will give you things on credit. So that's why in the beginning of any business, you need this initial working capital. Now temporary, I divide it into seasonal and special. Seasonal means what? Seasonal means you so know summer season, winter season. For every season, there are something means more requirements by the customers. So that time it is needed for particular season, not for the whole year. And for special, some festivals, or you can say marriage season is there, marriage, these all are special. So that time we need extra working capital. So this is called temporary, seasonal and special. Two kinds of temporary working capital. Now factors affecting working capital. First is nature of business. In the same way as you have done for fixed capital, nature of business, if manufacturing firms is there, so more working capital will be needed. If public utility undertakings, so that time they, because they are not involved in any production, na, so that's the less working capital will be needed. Second is size of business. Large scale size is there, so more working capital will be needed. Small scale, so less working capital will be needed. Then manufacturing cycle. So what does it mean, manufacturing cycle? Manufacturing cycle means if from raw material to finished good, how much time will be taken. So this is called manufacturing cycle. So if it is longer, so more working capital will be needed, or if it is shorter, so that time less working capital will be needed. Then rapidity of turnover. What does it mean? That turnover means the speed with which the amount of working capital is recovered by the sale of goods. So if there is a liberal policy, you cannot get cash timely, so that time more working capital will be needed. If you are getting timely payment, so tight credit policy is there, so less working capital will be needed. Now I tell you the last is comparison between fixed and working capital. So what are the basis of comparison? First is meaning. What does it mean? You know, fixed. Fixed means capital invested in fixed, that is called fixed working capital, and capital invested in current asset, that is called working capital. Second, time span of investment. This is invested for long period, and working capital means this is invested for short period. Third is sources. What are the different sources for this fixed capital? These are the shares, debentures and long-term loan. And for working capital, public deposits, trade credit or banks. Then purpose of fixed capital is to generate the income, and for working capital the purpose is to meet day to day expenses. And another term is this is known as blocked capital and this is known as circulating capital. Thank you for watching this video.